I'm making a game inspired by a Donkey Kong Country. I've always loved the Donkey Kong Country games, and when I started making this project, I knew I wanted to take inspiration from them, notably from the bonus rooms of Donkey Kong Country 2 and the clever level design of Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. Today, I'll be talking about the beginnings of this project, its mechanics, graphics, and more. Let's get started. The idea for this game actually came to me when I was in informatics class. I had finished my work early, and my friend asked me if I wanted to see who could make the best Scratch game in half an hour. I have used the Scratch game engine for 6 years, so I said yes, and in 30 minutes I whipped up this game. The yellow dude is a player, and you place rotating thingies to make him avoid the spikes. You can also place a jump pad. It was pretty simple, but for 30 minutes I was pretty proud of it. In fact, I was so happy with the game that I decided to remake it in the engine I was currently learning, Godot. Before I got to work though, I knew I wanted to change some things. In the Scratch prototype, you had 3 mana, which you can see in the background. The rotate things cost 1 mana, and the jump boost cost 2. I wanted to remove this mana system because it felt too restricting, and I wanted to make something more original. So I decided to make cards that you have in your hand and that you drag onto the stage with your mouse, which will create different scenarios every time you play. I also wanted to change the player from a yellow blob to a car because I like cars. So with my brainstorming done, I opened a new project and got to work. After a while, I got the car movement working in Godot, and you could place rotators to make the car turn like in the prototype. I also added these arrow circles that would make the car point wherever the arrow was facing. Notice that I also implemented a room camera, which I experimented with previously in Extract, a game I made in the Devlog engine. In the future, I would like to be able to switch from room-to-room cameras to a camera that flows the player seamlessly like in most games, but I haven't gotten around to it yet. Next, I implemented the card system, and when it was done, again, it felt too restricting. Having to drag the cards with my mouse to spawn rotators was tedious and slow, and it wasn't as fun as just instantly spawning them like in the prototype. So I changed it to be so you can spawn them like before, but only if it's in your hand. So for example, if I have 2 rotate right cards and 4 arrow cards in my hand, I can't spawn rotate left cards. And then, it hit me. Sometimes you didn't have the cards you wanted when you really wanted them. For example, if I wanted to do a left turn and didn't have a left card, it was really tedious. I could add some rubber banding to make sure you always have everything you need in your hand, but instead I just decided to make your hand the whole deck. That way you always have access to what you need. This kind of defeats the concept of cards, but it makes gameplay feel a lot better and fair. Now that I have finished my incoherent car card rambling, I can get to the part you've all been waiting for, the pre-rendered graphics. If you didn't know, the graphics from the original Donkey Kong Country trilogy are pre-rendered, which means that they made 3D models for everything and then basically took low-res screenshots of them and put them in the game, which achieves a really cool effect. Now, I don't really have a lot of experience with 3D modeling. The best thing I ever rendered was this lava smoothie, but that's not going to be very useful for this game. The first thing I modeled was a car. I made a capsule and 4 wheels and called it a day. Then I rendered it in low resolution and I was pretty happy with the results. I then cut the render in multiple parts, the wheels and the car body. I cut the wheels so then I can rotate them when the player turned because the car felt too static. After implementing the rotating of the wheels, the car looked way better. It's time for a rapid feature round. I made some grass wall tiles that took me way too long, added some ground tiles that didn't take me as long, replaced the old pixel art sprites with the new ones, and added coins. I added a blue coin challenge like the one in Mario 3D World, accidentally deleted it, cried, remade the blue coin challenge like the one in Mario 3D World, then made rotating smoother because it felt too drunk before, added post-processing, secret areas, and card collectibles that add cards to your hand. I also made some water thanks to this tutorial. I'm still not sure if it looks right though. Give me your thoughts in the comments. I also added a 3-wheeled car. I plan to add a lot of different cars in the future, and maybe make them have their own abilities and stats. I added a cool shader effect as well that restricts the colors that Godot uses when it renders the game, thanks to this tutorial. The way it works is that you scan every pixel of the screen and replace each pixel's color with the closest one in the colors I inputted. I decided to use the Resurrect 64 palette for the game, but I had a little fun with the shader and made a few color schemes, like this Game Boy one and this black and white one. I'll also use this shader in my GMTK M3. This is what the game looks like with no shader. I think it looks a lot better with the shader, but give me your thoughts in the comments. I tried implementing a leaf effect like the one in Deltarune, but I'm not sure I like it. I then got around to making the 3D models of the cards. I was going to make them look pretty unoriginal, but then I got the idea to make the cards little cars. I wanted to make them top down, like this, but my friend disappeared. The one that makes my game thumbnails gave me the idea to make the cards look like the side view of a car, which was a way better idea. She even made a little sketch, which I used as a reference. So here are the new cards. Notice that there is a new card, the slowdown card. It slows everything down except for the player. I plan to use this card to hide secret exits with really fast moving spikes in the first levels, and then you could come back later with the cards to unlock them. But why is the slowdown card in a truck? Well, I knew I wanted to make the cards look like different cars depending on something. I didn't know if it was better to change what the card looked like depending on the type of card or its rarity. After running a poll in a few Discord servers though, the type of card, like the movement card or special card, came out on top. So I made the movement cards, like the rotate and arrow cards, regular cars, and the special cards, like the slowdown card, trucks. I plan to add attack cards, but that's for another time. You may have noticed the interface of the game, so I'll explain that. Before, I had a boring interface with a health bar on the top, but I wanted something diegetic, like in those spaceship games. So I made the user interface a car. The wheel is your health bar, and it also fixes the problem of not being able to see the car in certain cases where the cards blocks your view. I plan to add more stuff like a rear view mirror for a minimap too. Diegetic UI also means that I can make weather effects like the one in Donkey Kong Country for example, more immersive. I experimented by making rain for example. This effect is composed of 4 things: the splashes on the windshield, the actual raindrops that fall, the raindrops that slide on the windshield, and the windshield wipers. I'm still experimenting with this. The texture of the particle affects our placeholders, but I think I can get it to look nice. Watching this game grow from a simple scratch prototype to a nice looking game was really fun. I'm excited for the future of this game and of this channel. I plan to make more videos soon, so feel free to like and subscribe. In the next devlog, I want to tackle more cards and bonus rooms, maybe even enemies. I have a ton of ideas for level designs, but we'll see what happens. Thanks for watching, and see you soon.